You just gotta love the feel of aftershave. Welcome to another video. This video I want to talk about something that I've noticed that's like a very consistent pattern, which is the inevitable truth of a really good show never actually gaining the clout it deserves. Of course, that's just my opinion, like everything in this channel is, but still, hear me out. Well, first of all, like, why do like really good shows just they're not mainstream for some reason? And something like with this pattern, it is usually like this: a really good show is made, everyone is like, yeah, it's really good, but then there's like a really mediocre average show, and everyone for some fucking reason starts to create this cult-like following. Cough cough, alas. Alas. I thought about it for like solid 5 minutes about this, and I came up with some like reasons, and I feel like they are good points. Of course, they really aren't, but it's just my overconfidence speaking. But still, let me get right into those. The first point I wanted to make is that why really good shows, they don't exactly go mainstream. It's usually because people usually just want to relax, and this is a completely acceptable reason. I'm completely fine with it usually, actually. Like, it doesn't really bother me at all, because people, like, to appreciate a really good show, you need to have like your eyes open for the entire duration of that particular show we're talking about. Let's say Akira. That was a really good show. I really, like, people are not exactly on it 24/7, and most people just want to relax. Like, they want like a show they can watch while eating, then that's usually why they, buy Netflix, and that's fine. I'm completely fine with it. But what I'm not fine with, that kind of pisses me off. This video is just going to be boiled down to why I hate humanity, chapter 5292. Well, and the second reason I've noticed, like, I came up with why, really good shows, they don't exactly hit the mainstream, is because, well, a really good show requires a really good eye to actually understand. I'm not like self-joking myself off with this. I'm just saying, like, there are like really good shows that for some reason, like, of course, some of them all eventually hit the mainstream, but of course, there are like shows that are like actually really good, but still don't hit the mainstream, even though I personally think that they should, depending on the show, of course. But there are like shows that are like, it's okay, it's like mildly above average at best, and just completely mediocre at worst. Cough, cough. And the reason like why these shows hit the mainstream and kind of develop this cult-like following, and this is not just exclusive to shows, by the way. This happens like many other type of entertainment, like video games, songs. God, song is probably like worst category, but I'm getting off topic here. Like, the reason why average shows are like much more likely to hit mainstream is it's like the average person. It's because the average person's need to feel like a smarter person than they really are, because they can like because it's all about interpretation. You know what I mean? Like, you can like interpret this like really mediocre at best, like a lukewarm show, as something that's like better than it actually is, and people will buy it. Average person will buy it. But I don't know, maybe it's just my literature studying elitist ass just shining through. Like, one example I wanted to, if there was like one example I wanted to give, like, an average show having like a cult-like following, it'd probably be haha Rick and Morty joke insert here. But like, if I was to give like another example, it's a show I like actually, but still it's just average, like mildly above average at best. It's Peaky Blinders or Sherlock. I mean, fuck me, Sherlock. I mean, Sherlock is like the Sherlock is like that show that's like just mildly above average, just barely good enough to the point where like people would go, yeah, it's a good show, I recommend you watch it. But like, when you dig it down, it's not as complex as people make it out to be. It's like the people who need some sort of beacon to follow that may turn it into this overly saturated thing. Because like, Sherlock was a really good show until like season 3, and then it just. But the other reason why really good shows, they don't hit mainstream, is there's also like the other factor you have to consider, which is expectations. Like, for example, it's not a show nor a movie, but it feels like one. It's a game, God of War, the latest God of War release, and that game took 5 years in making, and expectations were so fucking high at the release of the trailer, and I'm glad it actually was half decent. I mean, it's a decent game, but it's not as good as people are making out it to be. It's just oversaturated, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's like a strong 6, like a light 7. And the reason that game was, as successful as it was, because a lot of people who think that can actually understand deep shit just loved it because it was so open to interpretation. Which brings me to my next point. Products like shows, anything that is average is like a lot more likely to be consumed by the average person. I mean, I don't know, I just don't see people watching shows like Altered Carbon as much as, you know, watching Sherlock Holmes, or like a show that's like heavily underrated in my opinion, because I've talked to many people, I asked many people, none of them have seen it for some reason. Alienist, it's on Netflix. Give it a check. It's good. It's like Sherlock, it's mildly above average, but it's not an Alienist that's like actually deep and has a deep narrative to actually good characters. So like, give it a watch. I mean, it's on Netflix, you know. I'm just saying, go check it out. You know, it's good. So. I feel like I should be writing a script for these videos because I genuinely could go like way too depth into this. It's just I lack the attention span to be continuously thinking about the same thing.